Hi, my name is Christine Ira A. Angeles together with the Group 4, and today we will tackle about all the information of tourism. So first, how tourism affects our world. Tourism increases the economy's revenue. It creates thousands of jobs. It develops a country's infrastructure, provides a sense of cultural exchange between foreigners and citizens. There are positive and negative impacts of tourism. The positive are jobs created, more money for the country, local traditions and customs are kept alive. Tourist benefits us to protect natural landscape and greater demand for local products and food. The negative impacts are jobs are often seasonal. Most money goes to governments and big companies. Culture and traditions change. Damage to natural environment and price increases in local shops. So there are four main types of tourism impacts. First is the economic impact. Economic impact is the impact of contribution of tourism is felt in both direct and indirect ways, where direct economic impacts are created when commodities like the following are sold: accommodation, entertainment, food and beverage service, and retail opportunities. Residents, visitors, businesses, and various levels of governments are influenced direct tourism impacts through their spending in or near a given tourism area. Next is the socio-cultural impacts. It is an inherent aspect of tourism that seeks the authenticity, the desire to experience a different cultural setting in its natural environment. Although cultural tourism provides opportunities for understanding and education, there are serious impacts that arises as a result. It is not only the volume of tourism at work, but the types of social interactions that occur between the tourist and the host. There are three broad effects at the local level: the commodification of culture, the demonstration effect, and the acculturation of another culture. Next is environmental impact. It is connected to ecotourism, nature tourism, wildlife tourism, and adventure tourism that take place in environments such as rainforest, high alpine, wilderness, lakes and rivers, coastlines, and marine environments. The positive impact of this can be an increased awareness of environmental stewardship, while the negative impact can be a destruction of the very experience that people are seeking. And finally, the health impacts. Tourism brings both positive and negative effects on the health of local people. The short-term negative effects are related to the density of tourist arrivals, traffic congestions, crowding, crime level, and other stressful factors. That's all. Wait. The positive long-term health outcomes of tourism arrivals can be explained by the influence of positive experience and social interactions with visitors on physical health and longevity. So, that's all. Thank you.
How tourism contributes to climate change. Climate change impact. The impact of tourism activities on climate change is not very evenly distributed over the different kinds of tourism. Reduced water availability. Reduced water availability could lead to dispute with local industry and communities. Extreme weather events. Extreme weather events will increase operational uncertainty, particularly in poorer countries. Expensive or unavailable insurance. Expensive or unavailable insurance is areas exposed to extreme weather or sea level rise. Efforts to cut emissions may add cost to the industry, particularly from transport emissions.
Tourism on the move in changing climate. Rising temperatures, higher sea levels, and degraded habitats will have serious impacts on almost every subsector of the tourism industry. But options exist to help the industry adapt to climate change. First, mountain and snow tourism. Snow sports are at obvious risk from rising temperatures, with lower elevations resorts facing progressively less reliable snowfalls and shortened seasons. But other types of mountain tourism are also vulnerable as infrastructure is put at risk from melting glaciers and thawing permafrost. Second, forest and lake tourism. Outdoors activities will be affected by large-scale forest dieback and more widespread wildfires triggered by sustained drought and higher temperatures. Longer forest seasons will reduce access to national parks. Rising temperatures will change lake habitats, affecting fishing tourism. Third, biodiversity and agricultural tourism. As temperatures rise, the geographical dispersal of flora and fauna will change as species shift to conditions to which they are better adapted. Given that many nature reserves are geographically isolated, this may prove difficult or impossible for many iconic species. Fourth, cities and urban-centric tourism. City visits account for the largest percentage of the global tourism industry. Across the world, city infrastructure is exposed to the range of climate impacts, including extreme heat events, water shortage, and floating coastal cities, meanwhile, are at rest from sea levels rise. Fifth, beach and coastal tourism. Rising sea levels and more extreme weather events threaten beaches and coastal infrastructure enjoyed by hundreds of millions of tourists each year. While adaptation can protect at-risk infrastructure, beaches are difficult to protect without reducing their attractiveness. And lastly, ocean and sea life tourism. The combination of rising water temperatures and increasing ocean acidification caused by the absorption of carbon dioxide spell particular peril for reef ecosystems and dive tourism they support. Warming sea temperatures will also change the distribution of fish and marine mammals.
Mitigation means reducing risk of loss from the occurrence of any undesirable event. Mitigation is aimed at tackling the cause and minimizing the possible impact of climate change. Mitigation by the tourism sector can achieve by reducing energy use, through changing travel behavior, by improving energy efficiency, increasing the use of renewable energy, carbon offsetting strategies, sustainable destination planning and management, tour operator choice of destination and packaging of travel. Some example of it: take fewer flights and reduce your creation of carbon. Use public transportation and walk and bike. Support local people and businesses. Refuse, reuse, reduce, then recycle.
Adaptation by tourism sector is an adjustment in natural or human system response to actual or expected climatic stimuli or their effects, which moderate harm or exploit beneficial opportunities. In other terms, is used to reduce the business risks of tourism companies and protect their natural capital, such as beaches, rainforests, and biodiversity. A rainforest is an area of tall, mostly evergreen trees and a high amount of rainfall. We can reduce or protect rainforests by planting trees on a land where forests have been cut down. Encourage people to live in a way that doesn't hurt the environment. Support companies that operate in ways to minimize damage to the environment. Second is beaches. Beaches is a pebbly or sandy shore, especially by the ocean between high and low water marks. We can protect beaches by recycle any plastic you use at home or bring to the beach. Always double check your packaging and the bin you are disposing it in to make sure you found right match. If you live near the beach, tag along to a local cleanup, team up with an organization, or plan it yourself. Biodiversity is the biological variety and variability of life on Earth. Biodiversity is a measure or variation at the genetic, species, and ecosystem level. We can protect biodiversity by supporting local farms, plant local flowers, fruits, and vegetables, take shorter shower, and respect local habitat.
The carbon footprint of global travel. The international tourism industry is growing faster than the whole of global trade, and the environmental consequences of this growth are expanded just as rapidly. In order to curb the greenhouse gas emissions associated with travel, a huge cultural shift needs to take place. Regional governments, business, and consumers alike to have a responsibility to ensure that the short-term excitement and profits from travel don't cause undue long-term damage to our planet and future generations. With a bit of planning, critical thinking, and open-mindedness, you can minimize the negative environmental impacts of your travels and experience a more authentic side of your destination. Here's how. Number 1. Only fly when the trip is long and non-stop. The bulk of a plane's carbon emissions are due to takeoff and landing. For this reason, you can dramatically reduce your flight-related carbon footprint by seeking alternative travel methods, like bus, train, or carpool, if your flight would be shorter than 3 hours, and by choosing direct flights whenever possible. Number 2. Pack light and with plans for reuse. Heavy luggage requires more fuel during transport, but relying on a single-use items during your stay also contributes to waste. Don't bring more than necessary, but plan smart by bringing things that will help you eliminate disposables during your travels. Examples: bring reusable containers with you. A reusable water bottle, a Tupperware container, and a canvas grocery bag can come in handy during your travels and cut down on single-use plastic waste. Second, plan for laundry day. Hotel laundry service are expensive and generally use a lot of water. Socks and undergarments made of cotton or bamboo also dry very quickly. Number 3, rent your gear on location rather than packing it or buying it new. Hitting the slopes, catching a wave, spending the night under the stars. Explore opportunities to rent bulky items like skis, surfboards, and camping gear at your destination. Not only will save this you some cash and a lot of extra weight, but it's better for our planet when individuals share things rather than owning for themselves. Number 4, walk and bike and use public transport at your destination. You'll cut down on gas and save yourself the stress of driving in a new city. Plus, Walking and biking allow you to see much more of your surroundings. And taking public transportation is a great place to chat with locals. If you're arriving to an airport rather than defaulting to a taxi, try to book an airport shuttle via a service such as Shuttle Finder to reduce your emissions. Number 5, eat local cuisine. From wine to cheese, to coffee to vegetables. Learn what foods and beverage your destination is famous for and what's in season. When you make a point to consume these products over anything imported, you'll be supporting the local economy farmers and eliminating the distance your food must travel. Number 6, double check that your souvenir is authentic. Avoid mass manufacture apparel and plastic that had you travel just far as you did. That I Love New York t-shirt and Eiffel Tower teaching were in likelihood manufactured overseas on an assembly line. If you feel that you need to return home gifts or trinkets, buy directly from local artisans and craftspeople wherever possible. Not only are handcrafted, locally made items better for environment and regional economy, they also make for much cooler, more authentic gifts. Number 7, stay in a green hotel. According to the Hotel Carbon Measurement Initiative, the industry standard for hotel emissions is 68.6 pounds of carbon per room per night. Green hotels, on the other hand, average just 13 pounds of carbon per room per night. When booking, look for hotels that use renewable energy, were built for LEED certification, have extensive recycling and composting programs, and use eco-friendly cleaning products. Number 8, green hack your hotel stay. Even if you weren't able to book a green hotel, there are small changes you can make in your behavior to minimize the impact of your hotel stay. First, leave the Do Not Disturb sign on your door for the duration of your stay so that no resources are spent cleaning your room. Second, hang your towels back up instead of throwing them on the floor so that they don't need to be washed and replaced immediately. Third, return any maps or brochure you used to front desk so that they can be reused by future guests. Fourth, pretend you are paying the electric bill yourself. Use the lights, heating as if you were up close and personal tour. Riding elephants, posing for photos with lions, trekking through delicate ecosystems, a tour of favela, slum or shantytown, close encounters with reclusive indigenous tribes. Such tours are often exfoliative and harmful to the local people and wildlife, even if they are technical. Number 10, be mindful of local resources. We often want to travel to get away from it all, but the vacation mindset should not be a carte blanche to ignore how your visit impacts the local people and environment. It is inconsiderate to travel somewhere when that location is experiencing the drought. It is especially inconsiderate to travel there. Shower twice daily, leave the tap running while you brush your teeth, and sleep in freshly washed sheets every night. Number 11, consider purchasing carbon offsetting. There is scientific evidence to suggest that travel, for all its CO2 emissions, makes people more empathetic and creative, and inspires them to engage in multicultural setting with more vigor. Furthermore, these are all traits that increase the likelihood that a person will regularly donate to charities.
How tourists modify behavior to minimize their carbon footprint. Tourism is responsible for roughly 8% of the world's carbon emissions, from plane flights and boat rides to souvenirs and lodging. Various activities contribute to tourism's carbon footprint. The majority of this footprint is emitted by visitors from high-income countries with U.S., travelers at the top of the list as the number of people who can afford to travel grow. So will tourism environmental footprint. The first one is transport. Getting from here to there is the most basic component of tourism. Planes, cars, trains, boats, and even hot air balloon allow us to explore destinations all over the world. However, all of our jet setting and road tripping comes with a hefty carbon footprint. Today, transportation is tourism's main source of greenhouse gas emissions. On average, planes and cars generate the most CO2 per passenger mile, with tour buses, ferries, and trains coming well behind.
The second one is lodging. In the same way, your house generates emissions from energy use, so do the hotels, homestays, and rental homes that you stay in a while on vacations. Emissions from lodging tend to be highest in resorts and hotels that offer modern services, while smaller lodgings such as homestays and guest houses have lower emissions for the most part. The third one is food and drink. Food production is responsible for roughly 1/4 of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. Getting from farm to table means growing, processing, transporting, packaging, refrigerating, and cooking, all of which require energy and contribute to your meal's carbon footprint.
The last one is shopping. True, every trip must eventually come to an end. Tourists are sure to return home with magnets, hats, art pieces, and other trinkets to remind them of their vacation. But travelers purchase or rent limited to kitschy souvenirs from street markets to high-end boutiques. Shopping is now a travel experience in itself.